WGRZ Plus. A quick update for your commute this morning. Dave Cash mentioned this morning. Campbell Boulevard is shut down between North French all the way up to Tonawanda Creek Road because the number of downed trees in the area. We do have a crew on the scene right now gathering details and video, and we'll let you know once we learn more and once we get that video into the house. But we've been talking about the high winds, and this is the live look we've got outside right now, right?
Here's the bigger story. The wind, Pete. I mean, this has been kind of the real deal. I will say that in the last, let's say, hour, the wind has come down a bit, but you can see the break wall there with the waves crashing over it, as it usually does on windy periods, which is currently what we have. Winds so far, again, peaked. The first 60-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts we've had this season occurred just about 2 hours ago at the airport, 63-mile-an-hour winds.
Wow, yeah, we've got a weather impact alert today because of that, but we're talking about the downed trees up in the north, a potential of Lake Seiche, correct, a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, when you have, let's say, 4 to 5 hours of sustained winds of this category.
Pushing all the water here?
It's like, remember in the bathtub as a kid, you kind of see the sloshing of the water back and forth.
Yeah.
So the sloshing of the water is coming our way, and for that reason, we do have a lakeshore flood advisory because of the higher levels that the water will reach today.
And everyone out there is saying, "Hey, Pete, would you get out of the way of the weather map so Patrick can do his job?"
I don't like him here. Sometimes this is a lonely space.
I will see you over there in a little. I'll see you over there in a little bit.
You really want to go?
Yeah, sure will. You can do your stuff.
All right. Back to lonely times. Good morning, everyone. Yes, it's been windy this morning. The wind is staying elevated. But again, the numbers are down from what they were, let's say, at 6 or 7 o'clock this morning. Gusts to 35 to 40 miles an hour. We're also getting some rain that is moving through. So it is a raw day, to be sure. We're going to see rain showers and colder temperatures, and that stout breeze, or wind, if you will, take us into the afternoon, where things should begin to calm down. We do have a high wind warning until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Some wind gusts could approach 50 to 60 miles an hour. We have already seen that in places like Niagara Falls and Buffalo. Grand Island have all seen winds above 50 this morning. We're going to see the rain showers at noon this afternoon. It stays kind of windy and raw, but the rain should begin to ease back. All right, temperatures are now in the 30s. This is about 10 degrees cooler than it was when Daybreak began this morning. Numbers in the 30s. Here's what we're expecting. Again, periods of rain and wind. Temperatures holding right around 38 to 40 degrees all the way into tonight, when the wind should begin to diminish a bit. So that's what we have coming up. Snow totals, I don't know what those are doing there. We are going to see some snow, by the way, around here. It looks like as we head towards the end of the week, as some lake effect snow develops. In fact, we will see, I would say, snow heavy at times beginning Wednesday, Thursday into Friday, focused south of Buffalo, and yeah, another lake effect snow event that could last into the weekend. That is coming up. Pete, I've got props. I'm going to have to show you what my rooftop weather experience was like just a bit ago. I was up there for 30 seconds on the roof. Open the umbrella.
Well,
look, shredded.
And that surprised you with 50 to 60 mile an hour winds?
I will say we have done rooftop weather now coming up on 8 years. And never have I seen the demolition of an umbrella like this ever.
Well,
so quickly. So
we were planning a performance of Mary Poppins for the second half of this, so that's out the window now.
Yes.
So instead, you know what we're going to talk about?
What's that?
We're going to talk about some Bills football.
Yes.
Great game yesterday.
Good game.
Man, Bills accomplished their mission for the weekend, secure the number 2 seed in the AFC.
Come on! Yeah! Hey, and I mean this. Listen. Where else would you rather be than right here, right now, baby, right? Come on! Putting on the red, white.
You know, there are very few coaches who can quote Marv like that, and Sean pulls it off. They absolutely dominated the Jets, 40-14, and as you just heard from Coach McDermott, it was a complete game. Offense, defense, special teams, all made an impact to secure the victory with the number 2 seed and the division secured. Now they're guaranteed a home playoff game at Highmark, and depending on how things play out, the potential of 3 playoff games at Highmark.
And by the way, I have to tell you, looking down the road into the weather during that playoff period, wintry weather may play a role like it did in the playoffs last year. Just a heads up. And quick question.
Sure.
Was there any space in your brain
Not much.
that felt, I don't know, a little sorry for Aaron Rodgers? I don't know.
No.
No? Okay.
Not even a little
He
bit of
was
me.
Terrible
Yes,
yesterday.
he was
the
terrible.
Bills made him look terrible.
But I will tell you this.
Yeah.
The beginning of the game,
Yeah.
the defense was making me nervous.
Yeah.
Because, I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Well, they marched right down the field.
Yeah. Yep.
In the first quarter.
And then, a few adjustments here, a few
Right.
adjustments there, and things are running on all cylinders. So, as the number 2 seed, the Bills are guaranteed to face the AFC's 7th seed in the wild card round. So that means they're going to be taking on either Denver, Miami, or the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, if I'm going to rank them,
Oh, yeah.
that's my list of what I would want to see. Miami first, Denver second, and Cincinnati last.
I want no part of the Bengals.
Nope.
Even though they're even skeptical to make the playoffs. In fact, a couple weeks ago, they had like a very low chance. But our history with them
Yeah.
you remember the playoff game 2 years ago,
Right.
in the snow, and we couldn't do anything.
Yeah, well, our history with them, and also Joe Burrow, who is, also, he's on the outside track, but he is in the conversation for MVP as well. So, yeah, they can bow out of the playoffs at any point.
Yeah, again, their record isn't great, but again, there's just something about, Burrow. He's a masterclass. They have a great offense. Again, I want no part of them. Now, if you recall, the last time we played the Broncos, do you remember that game?
I don't.
That was the game that we were set to beat them. They kicked a field goal and missed, but we had 12 men on the field. And then they got a chance to kick it again, and then they ended up winning the game. I think that was 2 years ago.
I love the fact that you're bringing up all these pleasant memories for us all.
I'm just thinking of these potential opponents and some of the history that we had.
So if you want to make it out to the wild card game, we took a look at Ticketmaster this morning. Here's what the prices are looking like right now. They range from $150 to $770 before taxes. Right now, a date has yet to be set for the Bills wild card matchup, but once we get these things settled and things become clearer, we will obviously let you know and have a complete preview of the Bills matchup against whomever it's going to be in the first round of the playoffs. And a reason why ticket prices may be so high is because, as we mentioned a little while ago, MVP candidate filling up seats wherever he goes. Josh Allen is now, the Vegas odds makers have him the favorite for MVP. So I know a lot of people out there are saying, well, what about Lamar? Because both have had huge seasons. But Josh's season has been historic. He just notched his 5th consecutive season with 40 or more touchdowns. He became the first player in NFL history to score 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in a game. He also had a game where he passed, rushed, and received for a touchdown. And yesterday, he also tied Thurman Thomas on the touchdown, the rushing list for rushing touchdowns in Bill's history.
Now, you may say that, statistically, Lamar has had a better season against Josh's numbers.
Depends on what statistics you're looking at.
Exactly. You can kind of cherry pick those. Also, you can argue that Lamar, who's kind of the second right up there with Josh, has had more to play with, meaning he's got Derrick Henry. He's got other pieces. We have a lot of pieces too.
Right.
But he's got more weapons to help his cause.
See, because the downside to the everyone eats theory is that there's not one guy that the defense keys on,
Right.
that frees up things for other, you kind of spreading it around. But when the defense is worried about a beast like Derrick Henry, that's going to open things up for Lamar, and he can throw the ball, he can pass the ball, I mean, he can run the ball. He is just a beast. So that may be the only thing that's standing in the way of Josh's MVP season. Jackson has had an impressive year. He just broke Michael Vick's all-time rushing record for a quarterback. He could break the regular season record for the highest passer rating. The MVP award could go either way, but head coach Sean McDermott gave a strong endorsement to his quarterback.
In the day, Josh Allen's the MVP. I've been around this league long enough to see MVPs every year for many years. And what he has done on this team, in this organization, in this community, and no offense to anybody else, but I've got a hard time believing that someone's done more. I really believe that.
Yeah, and that's a great point to remember, because I think a lot of people are looking at MVP as the league's best quarterback.
Right.
I mean, that's only part of it.
It's
who is the most valuable to their team.
And coach is always team oriented.
Right.
Rarely does he set aside a certain player and give them their flowers.
Right.
And that, to me,
Give them their flowers. I like that.
Yeah,
that's very poetic.
That's what my kids say. But you know what I'm saying? It's like we've never really seen him take a single player and go, there's no debate.
Right.
He is the best player. And he goes, I've played with many an MVP candidate, and I've never seen one more deserving than our QB.
Yeah, he may say there's no debate, but if anyone has been on social media, there is quite a debate. You've probably taken part in the discussion if you're a member of Bills Mafia that's been scrolling through your timelines. We're going to take a look at some of the comments that we've gotten across over the weekend and this morning. Six Godin writes, Lamar Jackson is playing next week because he couldn't beat the Raiders and the Browns with a 2,000-yard rusher and wide receivers who are first in separation. Josh Allen is sitting next week because he's 14-3 and locked up the second seed. Allen is the MVP.
And Allen beat the Chiefs.
Yep.
He beat the Lions.
Right.
Two of the best teams in the NFL.
There you go.
In their respective, the AFC and NFC. So there you go.
Yeah, and also this user, who appears to be a Chargers fan, you can see the lightning bolt there. He says, quote, Lamar Jackson is the best player in all of football. Josh Allen is the media's MVP. What? Lamar is the people's MVP.
That makes zero sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard just as much media love for Lamar as Josh.
And I'm going to point something out here, too.
What?
If Josh Allen is the media's MVP, guess who votes for the MVP? The sports writers.
Right.
So he is the MVP, if that is your point.
Right.
Oh, well. This user, Ryan Dangle, took a more conservative approach, saying, quote, I don't care if it's Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, or Joe Burrow for MVP. All three of them have been absolutely must-watch football. They're incredible. That is a very, very brave stance.
One of the things that I loved hearing from Josh is when he was asked, what is this MVP, what does it mean to you, the fact that you're being considered? And then he said, it means that as a team, we're in the conversation for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well,
it had nothing to do with self. It had to do with, if I'm running for the MVP, we must be a pretty good team.
And the first thing he said yesterday in the post-game interview is, oh, I don't care about that. Right. So it's, he's got one goal in mind, and that's Super Bowl. And that's what, as a Bills fan, that's what you want to hear.
Right.
But speaking of Bills fans, before we move on, we want to give a special shout out to a huge member of Bills Mafia. We're talking about Pinto Ron. If you've been tailgating at the stadium, you know who he is. You know his car. You know his saw that he cooks eggs on, the bowling ball shots. Yesterday was his 500th Bills game yesterday, and he's the primary victim of the iconic ketchup and mustard ceremony, and that's why we caught up with him getting cleaned up after yesterday's ritual.
I really, my only goal was to do one complete season, and that was my big goal, and I achieved that in '94, and I've just overachieved since then. But I got to admit, getting up to 500 now, even I'm starting to get impressed. I wasn't impressed before, but this means a lot.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, have you partaken in some of Pinto Ron's shenanigans?
100%. I've been there.
Yeah.
I will say I couldn't believe when I walked up to the car and saw that food was being cooked on it, in it, underneath it.
Yep.
You know, this beat up Pinto.
Oh yeah.
And it made me reflect for a moment. I grew up in California. Tailgating there was, I would go to Stanford games, and it was cucumber sandwiches and little delicacies and maybe a little Pinot Grigio.
Or Chardonnay, if it's not too oaky.
Right, maybe some charcuterie. This is a pizza in a toaster oven or on the, and then taking a shot out of a bowling ball.
Yeah. And I remember the first time I had done a story with Pinto Ron when I was first starting here. I mean, years ago.
Yeah.
And he says, "Do you know I used to drive this thing to the games?" I'm like,
no way.
No, then
so his first game was in '94, right?
Yeah.
And so now 500 cents.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. Incredible accomplishment there. All right, the big sports weekend didn't stop there. You know, other Buffalo sports teams are celebrating victories. The Sabres, believe it or not, they're on a 3-game winning streak. They just beat St. Louis 4-2. So they capped off the victory weekend, and they started it off because they beat up on Chicago Friday night. But yesterday, the star of the game, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, he made 35 saves. And the Sabres return to the ice tomorrow on New Year's Eve to take on Dallas on the road. Puck drops at 8 o'clock. And the thing that I'm most inspired by with the Sabres, you know, because, you know, they had a 3-game winning streak and then they went on a 13-game losing streak.
Right.
So, but the thing about yesterday's game and Friday night's game is they had a lead. The other team came back and scored. And during that losing streak, the wheels would fall off and the confidence would go. That nothing happened like that. They kept going and they kept with the game plan and they kept their heads up and kept moving. And the one thing that is a big indicator for me is Rasmus Dahlin. He was in the lineup. He was out of the lineup for most of the skid, back in the lineup, back winning. So.
Friday night, they had a 4-0 lead, and then it was 4-2.
Yeah.
And you were like,
and
oh my
everyone
God.
was saying the same thing.
Here we go. And then all of a sudden, we get a hat trick from Tuck.
Yep.
And there we go. Yep. But yeah, the panic set in for a moment. But I believe you're right. The mindset has changed. And to take a lead and finish it is huge.
Yeah, big weekend in Banditland, too. They were looking, you know, they're looking to three-peat this year. They had the banner raising. They took down Rochester in their home opener, 13-6. Banner raising night on Saturday, just an incredible night. Matt Vince in the net for the Bandits, 62 saves, and Josh Byrne put up 11 points for the Bandits. It was the team's third game of the season, but the players say raising the banner for a 6th championship put on the pressure.
I know I've been to Sabres games now, and I catch myself looking up quite a bit now, and to know that that's going to be there forever, it's an amazing feeling. Yeah, home field advantage is very important, obviously, to play in front of a sold-out crowd like that. We want to make sure they keep coming, obviously, and I think that was an exciting game for them to be a part of. And yeah, like you said, you want to defend your home because it's that important. Our goal is to make playoffs, obviously, and then our second goal is to have home field advantage because you see it when we went on our 5-goal run at the beginning of the game. The crowd gets into it. It's hard. I've been in games where the other team's crowd has gotten into it, and it's hard to kind of bounce back. So it's important to kind of have them on our side.
Yeah, the Great Dane talking about Saturday night. I mean, that barn was rocking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't make it out to the game, but I kept looking. I was getting huge FOMO because I'm looking at my friends' feeds and you know, just showing the atmosphere, and that is just
awesome.
That
it's awesome.
It's something you have to experience as a Buffalo sports fan. So.
Yeah. And 3 games in, and the energy is already there.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Looking to three-peat this year. All right. Right now, we're going to take another look at your forecast. And the story of the morning is the wind. This is a live look from our Rand cam. I think it's looking at the windmills and it through a mist because you've got a little bit of rain out there. You got a lot of wind. It is a weather impact alert day, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's a day where we have the high wind warning, and we have, look at that. That's a live look at Niagara Falls. It is going to be wet and windy with rain showers, especially this morning. The rain showers will taper. The wind, though, the strongest winds have already moved by, but it's still going to be breezy to windy for the rest of the day today. A wet New Year's Eve on tap, and a long duration lake effect snow develops. Looks like on Wednesday all the way through Sunday. Most of the snow will be south of Buffalo, but there will be some in Buffalo too. This doesn't look blockbuster at this point, but still some heavier snows, especially for southern Erie County and into the southern tier later on. All right, so today the wind and the rain. Tonight, quiet, and then tomorrow, dry weather in the morning, and then it looks like, by the way, are you noticing this? There's some snowflakes. So the rain.
You know, I'm seeing people on the ski lift, so I'm not even listening to what you're saying.
I wouldn't listen to me either. That's far more intriguing. In fact, you know what we can do? Let's have some fun. Let's take this graphic back, and we can actually see what these guys are what they're dealing with. Oh, it's going to take a while for that camera to load. Darn it. Never mind. We move on. All right, let's take a look at the current wind speeds, and that is the wind gust speeds, 35 to 40 miles an hour. Again, off from the wind peak, which was about an hour or two ago. It is going to stay windy. We're dealing with some rain showers. Obviously, the hills are getting some snow. You did see some snowflakes down there in Holiday Valley, and that's where the snow may accumulate to an inch or two, but warm enough for rain. All right, for most of us. Long-range forecast looks like this. We are going to see a weather impact alert today for the wind. Tomorrow, rain in the afternoon and evening. That's New Year's Eve. Rain and snow showers Wednesday, then periods of snow showers Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend. For the south towns in the southern tier, we have a weather impact alert, it looks like, for Thursday. Due to heavy lake effect snow, we may have to extend that into Friday with periods of snow Saturday and Sunday, Pete, as well.
Yeah, it's almost like spring skiing condition, except for the wind. So
it's
make
sideways.
sure you got the goggles on for sure. Thank you, Patrick. And this morning, another thing we are talking about, much of the country celebrating the life of former President Jimmy Carter. He passed away over the weekend, surrounded by family in his home in Plains, Georgia. Carter was 100 years old. To On Your Side's Dave McKinley has more about how the 39th president made an impact here in Western New York.
What's been the best part of your stay?
I think the hospitality, the friendship of people here, and making us feel at home.
That was Jimmy Carter, some 15 years removed from the White House when he and his wife Rosalind visited Niagara Falls in 1996, a place he'd been to as a young man.
Well, I came here when I was a submarine officer in 1951.
In Western New York was a place Carter would return to as the nation's 39th president during his single term in office.
I think it was October 28th of 78. And he was campaigning for Governor Hugh Carey.
David Sherman is the former editor of the Amherst Bee and took pictures of the event.
He didn't go into the crowd. He simply spoke at the podium. And as far as I can remember, he simply turned around, stepped down, and got back on Air Force One.
Carter was inexorably linked to a couple of major events in Western New York, which occurred during his presidency. The blizzard of '77, for which he signed a disaster declaration that led to the creation of FEMA, and Love Canal, the environmental disaster in Niagara Falls, which led to his signing legislation establishing the EPA Superfund. For all that time that Carter was president, John LaFalce was serving as a congressman from this area.
One of the things that I used to love were the dinners that he'd have for members of Congress, where he would stand up there and say, okay, toss questions at me. And the members of Congress would toss the hottest questions they could, the most difficult questions. And he answered them better than any other president ever, at least within my experience.
Carter's last visit here as president came in 1980.
I remember that date vividly.
Demonstrating spryness on his 56th birthday, Carter leaped on top of his limo outside the Niagara Falls Convention and Civic Center to address well-wishers after having signed legislation committing the federal government to 90% of cleanup costs for the West Valley nuclear site and for the permanent relocation of Love Canal residents. It was in the waning months of his ill-fated bid for re-election. On your side, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
All right, thank you, Dave. And we're taking a look at some more of Carter's accomplishments. He served as the 39th president from 1977 to 1981, played a key role in the Camp David Accords, which helped stabilize tensions between Egypt and Israel. He also created the U.S. Department of Education as well as the Department of Energy. After his presidency ended, he and Rosalind created the Carter Center, which focused on human rights in 1982. And the couple would spend the next 2 decades trying to find peaceful solutions to international conflict and promoting economic and social development. This led to Carter winning the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002. You know, he is going to go down in history as the greatest ex-president in U.S. history.
About 15 years ago, my wife was traveling. She was on a Southwest flight. President Carter boards the plane.
Wow.
Southwest. He's not flying first class. He's not on there.
He's a man of the people.
And everybody stood up and he shook, this is her story, everybody's hand graciously.
Yeah.
Like it was like what a gentle man. In one that, you know, his presidency is marked by, you know, events that took place in history, but I mean, that was just like, to me, that summed up who he was.
Yeah, and you know what? There are so many presidents that you get divided on politically,
Right.
But Republican, conservative, liberal, Democrat, and everything in between, people recognize the fact that Jimmy Carter was a great man.
Yes. Yes.
And politics aside, he was just a national treasure.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of the president of our childhood, right? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember everything that went on, well, kind of. I mean, I was a kid, but to see his legacy post-presidency was amazing.
Yeah. And we are also celebrating the life of another flashback from our childhood. A Tony Award-winning actress Linda Lavin died in Los Angeles yesterday because of complications from lung cancer. That's according to the Associated Press. Now, she's best known, people of our generation, as her title role in the TV sitcom Alice. Of course, that was a TV reprisal of Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Right.
You know, and she was just incredible in that role, and so many lines that we quoted when we were kids. She was 87 years old when she passed away.
Growing up with a single mom, as I did,
Yeah.
and an only child, which was her character and her son in that show, I kind of related to her in that show. I loved Alice and Flo and Vic Tayback playing the grill man.
Mel.
And
Mel's Diner.
Right.
I mean, come on. That's who I related to.
Well, that was his name in real life, Vic Tayback.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Flo, Kiss My Grits.
Yep.
But I didn't realize her legacy in the acting world.
In the theater.
The theater, right.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
amazing. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's a look at what's ahead and what's happening today that we'll be following. The Buffalo Finance Committee is going to be talking about the future of the former site of Bray Miller Supermarket in downtown Buffalo. Acting Mayor Chris Scanlon is making a proposal that would move the B District Buffalo Police Station into the building for a year while their present home is being renovated. Not all members of the Common Council are on board with that. They say they'd rather see the site used for another grocery store or a restaurant. Council members who